cows up on the skyline. Right there. Okay, Dallas and I just saw Casey. They're about, 100 yards, 80 yards from the elk. I thought it was a bear. Like, there's a bear coming in. There's a bear right there. They're crawling and their backpacks are sticking up in the air like turtle shells. I don't know if they're gonna pull this off. They get busted. They're close.
Freaking giant. Oh, look at that other boat coming in.
How far are they from that? They gotta be close. How far is that? How far are those elk? How far are Aaron and them? The elk are 300 yards from us. How far are they from them? I gotta see it. I would say them probably 100 yards. Well, Aaron and I almost made it. We are 192 yards from the blind. But we ran out of this tall grass behind us that's going to block us. But the closest we got was 160. So far it's working, but I don't know if we're going to make it to the blind. Or if we do, it's going to take us a very, very, very long time. But the good news is, we haven't spooked any elk out. You have no idea we're here. They just put the whoopee on. He took his boots off and put mittens on his feet. That's one way to keep your feet warm. Seriously, his feet get so cold.
They're gonna fight.
They didn't do it, did they?
They're going to.
Oh.
They are the exact same size.
No, the one on the right's bigger. Well, he looks heavier. I think he was the bull stuck in the fence.
Honestly, I think Casey and Aaron could make their way now. Look how distracted they are.
You see these bulls just like mimicking each other?
They run side by side?
Yeah.
Yep. They did that all day when I was in that tree stand.
They're like
insane.
Almost dancing.
They have moved pretty high on the hill. I think it's probably better to wait and see how far up they go. He's got that barbed wire like stuck around his head and his leg, and he can't get his head up so he's walking with his head down and his leg forward. Kind of funky.
That's not good.
No, that wire is really a problem. In trouble. See, it's all around his legs and stuff. Down by his back legs. He just took that guy's cows. Took them all.
Okay. Can he lift his head up normal or no? Is he the one by himself?
Yep. No, he keeps dipping his head down low because he can't get his head up because of the wire. He's going over the top. Yep, he just let all his cows go. That other bull just came in and took them. Okay, we have 190 yards to go. But we're going to attempt to make it into the blind. It's going to be risky, but if we can do it, it's going to pay off. It's going to be way better than freezing out in this field. You ready for this? It's cold. I'm ready to move. Okay, Casey and Aaron are real close to the blind, maybe 200 yards.
I was 100% convinced they were some sort of bear. I was like, you have got to be kidding me. The way it was moving, you know what I mean? That waddle.
Yep. There's one cow looking at him. But
that's okay, I think.
She's it, and she's bedded, and she's not moving.
Yeah.
Well, this morning we got up around 4 o'clock in the morning. We got on the water canal. We floated down the canal, downwind of the elk, and basically got out of the canal in the dark, commando style, and we cut through this alfalfa field up the sprinkler system here. Aaron and Casey went ahead of us, and then Dallas and I followed up the rear behind them. And Aaron and Casey got all the way up to the edge of the field, about 100 yards from all the elk. Got pinned down, never really had a good shot. And then they've been waiting over there for the elk to... They leave these alfalfa fields in the morning and go over the top of the hill and they bed. They've kind of gone up, they're bedded. Some of them are right at the hill looking down at the alfalfa. They can see Aaron and Casey right now, but they don't seem to be... They could see them if they looked and actually saw them, but it looks like they're just hands and knees crawling all the way to the south here. And they're going to climb in that ground blind, and if they do, should be absolute mayhem tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if they both tagged out tonight. Elk were covered up all over that blind yesterday, so hopefully we all keep our scent down. Dallas and I are in a pretty good spot. I mean, it's very likely that the elk come right to us as well, so we'll see what happens. We made it. Freaky. And we didn't scare any of you. That sucked. We have a new appreciation for how soft alfalfa is, but that sucked. I need knee pads. Aaron somehow just squeezed to that teeny guess is that I'm going to have to do the same thing. That's one way to do it. It's so warm in here. The jelly's in a donut. The great part about this is these elk haven't been leaving this alfalfa. They've been bedding on it, eating on it, bedding on it all day long. So we've not been able to get in here. And a couple days ago, we just drove the truck in here and got dropped off and spooked them all. And then they didn't come back. They went over to the neighbor's property. So trying to get in here to our spots has been really hard. But it looks like that canal was the ticket. So the nice thing about this is these elk are just a couple hundred yards bedded on the bluff right in front of this ground blind where Casey and Aaron are headed. And if those elk, they don't have a clue that anybody got themselves in here. Like, so far they've seen a truck or something that kind of gives them a little bit of concern, but they got nothing at all that gives them any care in the world. So it's very possible that they just walk right up to the blind. It seems that when we've driven in here, the elk come down and they're very cautious of the blind and the tree stand that they're over there, because I think they've seen people in it for the last few weeks. So, but whenever they didn't see a car, they didn't see anybody get in here. So hopefully they're just they feel completely calm and they just walk right up to it.
Those elk are walking 20 yards in front of the blind. Aaron's gonna smoke that bull right now. Is done, so that bull is done. It's at like 3 yards. Shoot it. Oh my gosh. Come on, guys. Shoot it. Oh. It's just feeding.
I don't know what's going on.
There's no way that bull left his cows unless he took an arrow.
Dude, I'm so tight on this bull and the blind. He's right there.
Do you want to give us a rundown of what just happened over the last 2 hours?
There was a lot of elk around us in every direction possible. We had several small bulls we could have shot, but we were trying to shoot 2 really. One of them tried to commit suicide from behind the blind, but the damn blind window won't come down behind us. You're not supposed to shoot out of the back of it. There's a wheel back there, and we ended up cutting a bungee to try to get out of the back of the blind. But by the time we got everything ready, he was 15 yards looking at us like, wonder what's going on in there. And then he just walked off and grabbed some cows. And yeah, it was an interesting evening.
So we have basically been covered up in elk for the last 2 hours. Barely able to move at times because we've got a bunch of these windows down. But we don't know if they winded us or what. But they all kind of made their way to the side of the blind, about 400 yards. Now they've made their way back, so they're about 200 yards out.
There's more elk coming down that drain.
The same one that had the 4 bulls come out.
There's probably another 20 cows coming down.
Yeah, so more elk. I mean, it is.
You can see the head of them.
It's only 3 in the afternoon.
There's another bull and a cow. There's another cow.
But they're just piling. So we didn't really have a shot at any of the bulls that we wanted to shoot. They were moving too much. So somebody's got, well, we'll see what happens in the next little bit, but these things are getting a lot closer, that's for sure.
A big bull is about to walk by the blind. Big 6.
Mission accomplished. We just went 2 for 2 from the freaking blind.
It's an interesting day.
We have had elk all around us since about 2 o'clock. And they keep winding us and leaving and winding us and leaving and getting closer and then winding us and leaving. There's probably 200 to 300 elk right here. And
we had a herd come across us earlier, and Aaron shot the last cow of the herd. The very last cow. Out of about 150. It was insane. She stopped perfect, and he just smoked her. And then we've been just sitting here just wondering what the heck is going on. And all of a sudden we had this 5x6, the one that was up on the hill. He had alfalfa all over his face. He just came in bueling. He's been screaming it for the last hour. Oh, yeah, easy. And, anyways, so I got a nice broadside shot on him, and check this out. Right there. He's laying in the field. He probably only went 30, 40 yards, maybe. And, anyways, we are stoked, but we still have all these elk sitting over here in the field. Tell you what, I was trying to get a good range on it, so I was leaning like this, and I got so close to a string, I'm like, I better back up off that. He's gonna rip my ear off. So, luckily I was able to range it out of this window, or I don't know that I could have got it. Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, when I last ranged him, he moved another 10 yards closer, so it's a dang good thing I had Aaron in here ranging, because that's about the only way you can do it in here with two guys ranging. But, because they're moving so much. But we're freaking pumped. We got 2 for 2, 2 elk in the field right now. Aaron's is over here, mine's right there. And, now we gotta figure out how to get him out without blowing all these elk out. My guess is that isn't gonna happen. I'm pretty excited. We're gonna get to go potty soon, because we've been in this line. Both of us are dying. For 12 hours, I think. We will receive some type of, negative side effects from the bodily functions that we are not passing right now. How long? What did we get in the morning? We got in here like 700 yards. I think we got in here around 8 o'clock. Yeah, and it's we'll be getting out at 8. I think it's 6:38 right now. I've got bed sores on my ass. So we're sitting on metal folding chairs. These are really expensive chairs for the blind. We were going to get double bowl chairs, but we decided to get folding kitchen chairs. Yeah, we didn't want to spare any expense on them. Real quiet, too. Your butt doesn't get cold at all on the metal. Oh, dude. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I seriously just want to walk right over to him. Check this out. Oh, man. Dude, look at that shot. Look at this guy. That is... Yeah, dude, that's freaking awesome. That's a big body bull. Yeah. That's a lot of meat. That is so awesome. Oh my gosh. So freaking awesome. I'm so stoked. Oh, I can't believe how that came together. All right, folks.
We're hijacking
welcome.
it.
Thank you for watching this YouTube series. And I'm joined here by 2 of the guys on this Montana elk hunt, also owners of Mountain Ops, Casey and Jordan Harbertson. And I just wanted to throw this on the end of the film, just to give a little more context to this story, because this part 3 is the last and final installment of this series. Next week we'll publish Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, my moose hunt I did with Aaron Snyder. But right now we're wrapping up this hunt here, and it's the end of the hunt because yours truly did not tag out on that hunt. And there's still some film
but there's really
no cool story. Really.
No story anymore.
Yeah. Cool story, Hansel.
And so, but on this hunt, you guys just watched the video. It'll be aired when this goes up. What did you think of it looking back on it now, Casey?
It made me cold. So to go as slow as we did in the dark, I kind of wish we would have just ran, because like straight for the blind and just risked it. And hindsight's 20/20, right? I mean, they're making so much noise. It's like we should have just ran for the freaking blind. Like, it's dark enough. So I have a carbon bow. Carbon was the only thing that wasn't frozen on my bow. My sight was frozen. It was 20. I want to say it was 22 degrees. My sight was frozen. My rangefinders were frozen. Everything was frozen. My hands were frozen. Knees were frozen. Toes were frozen. You see Aaron put the...
How was that Kafaru Whoopie at that moment?
Honestly, it probably saved some part of like our appendages, because we kind of thought like we'd be able to get to that fence line and then shoot the elk from the fence line.
Yep.
And then have to go.
It looks like you can. The elk look like they're less than 100 yards to you.
Yeah, and I wish they were. Then we would have been done that morning. But they're 160 plus. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of the cows are probably closer, but the bulls were that far. And
let's bring this up right now, because the perspectives,
depth perception,
are tricky. So as
Dallas that was pretty difficult.
Dallas and I are filming from a distance. It looks like that bull is 30 yards from you.
You think he's sitting in your lap. You can see in the film, I'm filming through a little like wide lens, and that bull's 100 yards, easy. And even in the camera, he looks a little bit closer. You'd probably think he was around like that 50, 60 range, but trust me, we would have shot him if he was at that. And when he was sitting feeding, Aaron was really thinking about taking that shot, and I can't remember what the distance was, and he was getting ready, and that bull was feeding forever, and you can see him like quartering away. It would be a great shot, but we could still see all those other elk piling off the top, and all the cows kept walking
behind you
40 yards to the side. So we're like, why? If the cows are going to, let's wait for let's get a better shot. High percentage shot, and then that bull didn't play that way. That's actually the bull. If you watch it, that's the bull that I ended up shooting.
Well, and that other bull came behind the blind to 15 yards, and you guys fiddled with it, trying to open the back of the blind. So
here's the problem. He was at 15, and I don't know if you guys could see this, but we had a cow at like probably 40 or less that was bedded in front of us. So what we would have had to do was actually close the fronts to open the backs, and we're peeking through little holes in the windows to kind of see what's going on and kind of know what's around us roughly. When we realized that bull was right behind us, oh, dude, you should have seen us. We were just like trying to get these up as fast as possible, and then we're shifting, and you got to realize like all of our gear is set to look this way, and now all of a sudden we've got to shift everything this way without being too loud, clinking on metal chairs. Like, So by the time we were ready to pop the blinds, he was gone.
No, it was a circus in there. Yeah. I spent a couple days in there, and it was a lot harder than you think to get a shot off in that. And you guys talked about it. You had Aaron behind you over the shoulder, and he was just ranging. And we found this later. We had a cameraman in there, and then me. But the cameraman couldn't film because he had to range, because I'm at full draw, moving around while he's like.
Well, that was crazy. So it's like, all these elk had kind of just shifted off to our right a couple 100 yards away, and we see this one, and that guy that I ended up shooting, he was by far the most aggressive. He wasn't the biggest bull in the field, but he was by far the most aggressive, just screaming his guts out, picking fights with way bigger bulls.
Everybody but
stealing, everybody else's cows. Mm-hmm. And by the time I shot him, he probably had almost 100 of the 300 cows, and there was 60 other bulls in there. Mm-hmm. And so what was crazy was he finally, like, you would see them every once in a while, like, just pick alfalfa up, and they'd have these alfalfa dreads.
I remember you guys calling them the dreads.
So and we had seen other bulls do this, and finally he had some dreads, and I don't think he had his bearings right.
Oh, no.
I think he thought he was walking back. He was walking straight to the blind. And so he started walking, so I'm like ranging, I'm like 100, 90, 80. And so I like put my rangefinder down because he's starting to turn, but he's still kind of coming. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden Aaron, he's like, he's 74. just
was
smacked him, and it was over. But the thing was like,
It happened
I
so
really
fast.
don't know if we would have got. Actually, I know we wouldn't have. We watched to see the rest of that night as the elk came around. We never had one bull come within 100 yards. We had cows.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was like that was the only time we got a bull within less than 100 yards. They just kind of kept that barrier.
And as we're all watching from afar, like Dallas and Brian, as you see in the film, like I'm over here too, farther back with my glass out there, just watching this all go down. So the perception is so skewed because we're just all freaking out. Like, why aren't you guys taking shots? I mean, that's why we were calling Brian the picky bowman, because we'd see these big bulls come by or these bulls, and we're like, Brian, why aren't you taking shots, man? And you're like, guys, that bull was 150 yards away.
The next day, you guys are over there from miles away.
Live streaming
Sitting in the
on
back of
Instagram.
Casey's truck. Yeah.
Armchair quarterbacking my hunt.
Oh, it was awesome.
On Instagram Live.
And so people
calling me the picky bowman, like I'm passing up bull after bull after bull.
That's what it looked like.
Because it looks like they're 20 yards from me and I'm refusing to shoot. But little do you, they're 150 yards away.
And I think this was the toughest part for us too, not only in Casey's situation in this part 3 that you watch, but in the experiences that we experienced the next day with you was in Montana, the rule is no remote communications. Like you can't like use radios. So me, Casey, and Aaron are sitting in the back of this truck with our spotters, live streaming this, watching you in the stand going, why isn't he shooting these things? And it's not like we can just call you up and be like, hey, there's a bull coming right behind you, or hey, you just tune into the live stream and see what's going on. And we can't communicate. So we just have to watch this all in suspense with the skewed perception of like, why isn't he taking that shot? And really, as you come back to us, you told us, we're like, what about this bull? And we're showing you the film. We're like, what about this bull? And you're like, guys, I ranged them. They were at like 170 yards. They never came in closer than that.
But
I'm not
when
going
I'm-
to just send it.
But when I'm watching your video, I swear that bull is 30 yards from the blind.
But he's not. He was over 100 yards.
Yeah.
When he finally, I can't remember
When
the
he
yardage.
dogs that,
It was in
when
the
he,
70s.
When he dogs that cow and comes back in,
Yes.
Casey ranges then, and he's like 90 walking away, and then he stops, and when he's feeding, he's 100 roughly.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you guys sit there and talk for a while, and you're debating whether to take that shot or not. And you know, I've seen Aaron drop animals at that range. You know, so it's Aaron's a pretty rare example, though. I think I saw a few people take shots and shoot at that range, but certainly out of my wheelhouse.
Well, and we were practicing every day. We'd go out and we'd shoot that deer foam target at 100 to 120 yards every single day.
Yeah.
But even still, 100 yard on a live animal, you never know.
It's just not a shot I want to take. That blind was sort of a, those elk knew 100-yard buffer. Mm-hmm. All of them. They would touch every part of that field except within 100 yards of that blind. Now and then, though, they'd come up behind the blind and get close to it, but in the front of it, they were like, nope. It's like they all kind of knew, and guys have been sitting in that throughout the season.
Yep.
Those elk just were wary of the ground blind. They felt safe as long as they gave it a 100-yard buffer.
Well, so let me tell the story of Aaron's cow, because this is kind of crazy. So there was a bull that we called Little Thirds. That's probably a 320 or so bull with
Which I thought you guys had shot. Because when they ran in front of you.
Well, so that's why you would think that, because so what happened is those Little Thirds came to the left of us, like 200 yards away, and kind of just hung out behind us for a while. Then what happened is his cows started filing through. And while his cows are filing through, there's a little rag bull, like at 70 yards, bedded away from us. The Aaron, I was like almost cutting his bowstrings to get him to not shoot, because I'm like, dude, Little Thirds is coming.
Yeah.
And I want you to shoot this bull so freaking bad. Somebody, like, you're up, so shoot him. Well, all these cows are filing through at like 15 yards, okay? And so we're just watching him file, and I'm watching him like, okay, he's coming. And he's coming, and he came in between the stand.
I know.
And he's coming. I'm like, he's coming. And I don't know what the freak happened.
He booked it.
Boom.
we were watching from behind, and we're like,
This is going
this
down.
is happening. And then at the last minute, he just
Very
chased the
last
cow.
sec- As soon as he came into our shooting lane, he just like took off after this other cow. And so finally, I'm
the whole
ranging
group
the whole
went
time.
crazy.
I'm
all of a
ranging,
sudden.
and all of a sudden, Aaron's like, "Hey, what's that cow?" And so I range the cow. I'm like, 55. Boom.
As soon as the yardage come out, so does the bow.
Literally, I said 55, and boom.
He was already at
he
full
was already
draw.
at full draw, because he was at full draw for for little thirds.
Well,
And
that's
so-
that's the thing. When Aaron's got killing on his mind, it's hard for him to put the bow down.
Exactly.
It's like
And-
he's in it. It's like something's got.
He's in that train of
but
mind, and he's just like, I'm gonna send this either at him. Well, he didn't give me the opportunity. She's in a
where
perfect
I'm like,
opportunity.
Yep.
yeah, no. I mean, I think that you all had a blast. That was
Oh,
what
dude,
it was
we
all
didn't even
about.
care. Well, that was the thing. So after Aaron shot,
Plus,
that
Aaron can't
cow-
stand sitting in a blind anyway.
Oh, we were freezing. But when Aaron shot that cow, we started talking, and we're like, dude, this isn't as slam dunk as it seems. Like, we're shooting for opportunity, not for score. And so the next bull, and I said the next bull that presents itself,
He's
I'm
getting
getting,
in
getting
there.
the
and
thing
then
is-
that's when that bull came
And the next
in.
thing,
with the-
at the end of the day, though, I feel like it was an epic experience. My takeaway, and we'll go around the room here, and we'll kind of hear what your takeaway is. My takeaway, the thing that I got out of this hunt was I had never observed elk at such close range in herds that large, right? So you're talking 500 elk surrounding you, and you're in this center, like spokes on a wheel, and you're the hub. And there were elk everywhere, screaming, fight. I watched bulls just smash into each other.
You got some really cool video of it too. Like, you weren't shooting with your bow as much as you were shooting with your camera, capturing all of this.
Which I regret. I don't have time to edit that and put that into the series,
that
but
you
we
can
will.
honestly launch that later. That shows a lot of this
just
footage.
elk interaction.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We'll put that together. Right now I got to finish the moose. I got to finish the Colorado elk. I got to finish the second Colorado elk filmed in this series. So I'll get this footage out later. But it was watching elk, and they made sounds. I heard sounds that elk make that I had not heard before. And some of them, I mean, I don't know how, they just were going off. And so I saw all of that, and I saw how wild and crazy they get and how amped up. And when you're up in the mountains and you're chasing a herd and they're not that bunched up, sometimes I hear guys say, I cow call a little bit and I bugled and I was trying to get this elk to come in, and I've even been with Aaron where he's like, dude, the way you're sounding back there doesn't sound natural. And I'm like, it sounded just like what this Montana elk field sounds like. Mm-hmm. That's what it sounded like. Like full on elk just screaming, going off, cows going off, bulls scream. Like that's what the sounds I'm making in the woods at times, especially early season. And those elk, I called elk in for Aaron all the time. I call them in for Ben and Anthony. We call in elk all the time like that. And people think it's unnatural, and it's totally natural.
After that experience, it's only a confirmation to that it is, in a way, how they communicate, and in a large way.
And when you're afraid to call, you shouldn't be, because elk are insane. When they get amped up like that, I mean,
they never stop
talking. They don't
talking.
stop talking. They're so vocal, it's crazy.
My takeaway from that hunt was, you never know what you're going to be dealt with, whether you hunt on private land like we were, whether you hunt on public. But the truth is don't focus on the problem, come up with a solution. And that's like, I still remember when I started hearing, and I looked out and I'm like, why are they blowing up rafts?
That was so funny. We look out the window, there's Aaron
and then I'm
Brian.
like, oh my gosh, we're going down the canal. But it was like, yes, thank goodness you were going to BC and had those rafts. I saw a comment on YouTube that was like, that's random. Why did you guys have rafts and waders in your elk hunting?
He's going moose hunting. So
it's because he was going moose hunting. But the thing was like, it was so cool to see the teamwork that we all had, even Jordan involved, even though he was tagged out, but we were all like, in Dallas and David, as cameramen, we're kind of just like strategizing as a team, like, all right, it really was elk ops. Like, how are we going to get in that blind? First it was drive the car. Nope, that's not going to work. That blows them off. All right, let's go in the canal. Oh, no, that's not going to work. We have to do this, and we kept problem solving.
Yeah.
And what was cool is we were adapting and problem solving quickly to the point where you're like, dude, I just learned, like, I walk straight to the blind out of the canal. Like, if we were to go hunt that property today and that same scenario happened, what do? We walk straight
to the
from
blind.
from the canal. And so it's like, for me, it was really cool to see us teamwork for all of us to be able to get an elk, because we couldn't have that experience that Jordan had anymore. You guys tried that on the very, very, very last day, and it almost worked, but it still didn't get, to the same type where they all kind of funneled to this one area, and then
They
there's
had
like
2 lanes, and they took the right lane instead of the left lane that we were sitting on.
Yeah,
and we missed our opportunity.
But it was cool to watch that teamwork, and just we kept being presented problems, but we were always finding a solution.
And while we're still on you, tell us about the frontal shot.
So that was crazy, actually, how that all happened, because we were actually hiking back to the truck. We saw that there was an elk coming, a bull, and he was all by himself. And so he started making his way up, kind of going to cut in front of us. So I cut up and Aaron cut around, and we both kind of came to this point where there was a big juniper tree, and Aaron, Dallas was over my shoulder, and Aaron was coming around the side. Actually, if Aaron would have come around the side a little bit more of that juniper, he would have had a side shot. I don't know how far, but he would have had a perfectly broadside shot. But for me, that bull, he came around, or he was walking with his head down, and then just like picked it up, and he was like dead set on me.
Pinned you. You were at full draw, actually, when...
Yeah, I was already at full draw, and so I waited, and that...
And he kind of walks up and kind of chill, and you can see he's like, well, wait a minute, what is that?
What is that exactly? And I don't remember what was behind me.
He didn't look super tense, but he looked like he was like, what is that?
But so is that happened? So I'm looking, and I'm not afraid of a frontal shot, and I don't remember the distance exactly, but it was well within my capable range. And I'm at full draw, and I'm on this thing, and I just remember executing that shot and feeling it go off perfect. And I'm actually watching the arrow just twirl right towards that zone, that open cavity in their chest. And I'm watching it, and then right at the last second, he just turns.
Yeah, he spins.
And catches him right in the corner of his shoulder. And basically what happened is he turned so abruptly that it caught the broadhead and broke the broadhead at the insert.
Yeah.
And so the tip of the broadhead went in. And so I tracked teeny tiny drops of blood for about 3 miles to the point where I was
you found your arrow.
Well, the arrow was right there.
Yeah.
Because what happened is you'd have to zoom in and watch it in
you can see the video as he moves and he turns to the right. You can see the arrow go like whip down as his arm. So you hit him in the leg in the front because it's clear because his movement makes the arrow like go up and down.
And
so
I think that motion snapped it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as he went down, snap. But it clearly hit nothing vital and went in about an inch or two and snapped off.
Yep. And so I followed that blood trail, if you even want to call it that. It was literally just little drops of blood every about 30 to 70 yards as I'd find, but I could follow his tracks in 2 feet of snow. And so I followed him straight up a mountain, all the way to the top of that mountain, and then he just took the ridge for like 2 miles. And finally, it got into such a deep, thick area that I was like, this bull is not even hurt.
Yeah.
Like there's he
well, you can tell from the penetration.
Yeah. I mean,
that where the arrow went in the video, you can see it. And then the fact that to get to the vitals through that shoulder, it would have to go into like the fletchings
and
or close, and it didn't come close. And so, it's interesting. Like the frontal shot's always a point of contention among archery hunters. And as Corey Jacobson and Born and Raised Outdoors can attest, it's a very lethal shot. And he's covered it well in Elk Hunting University.
That's what I was going to say. If you educate yourself and actually look at the anatomy of an elk, you would probably prefer that over potentially hitting a shoulder blade on a broadside.
And we could debate it all day long, but
I just think you take the shot that you're comfortable with. I felt comfortable with that. And, you can't determine what the animal does after you release that arrow. So try and make it as
what's cool is I can see you when you're at full draw, and then you're at full draw for quite a bit. It's slow motion, but then you move your hand over and you're settling. And when you shoot, that bow shoots that arrow. It's not like you were ginching all over the place.
Oh, no, I was so solid. I mean, that's the thing. We had finally gotten to a place where we weren't really hiking up. It was more so we were just kind of traversing across the face of this mountain. And so heart rate was fine. And the elk came so quickly that it's not even like the adrenaline could really get going that fast to where you're like, you have so much anticipation of like, all right, here he comes. We came around the tree and boom, there he was. So it's like, all right, boom, let it rip. And, I was able to go through my entire shot process. And at the end of the day, the bull just spun.
Yeah.
And thank goodness that it wasn't anything worse than a few drops of blood, but I would take that shot again if I was presented with it from an elk. Hopefully I do, have an opportunity like that this season.
Well, the truth is sometimes they stand still and sometimes they don't. Jordan took his shot on that first day, 45 yards roughly. You can see where the impact point would be kind of center of center on the lungs. And it drops like 10 inches. And it doesn't drop until like the arrow's halfway there, and then all of a sudden that bull ducks. They're just fast. And your arrow's going, 280 feet per second maybe. And they're just quick. And so you spined it. But there are days when that bull would have stood still and taken the arrow. And then there are days when they duck. It's just
you can't choose what they do, and you don't know what they're going to do.
Nope. And so I've learned, with bow hunting, animals are shifty, and that's one of the reasons Aaron's like, he sometimes prefers like a 70, 80 yard shot over a 40 and under shot because the animals don't duck the string as quick as much, because then they're further away from that noise and what happens, and
these films too is we're not editing this stuff out to make us look like these glorious, amazing, perfect, wonderful, beautiful hunters. We're showing what hunting truly is, and stuff happens for good and for bad, and the truth is like it's good for especially new hunters to see this, because if they were to experience like what Jordan experienced on their very first, like maybe elk hunt, they're like, oh yeah, what did Jordan do? Oh, slip another arrow in, Yeah. If you were to only show that second shot and you didn't show the first one, you're like, what's that elk doing on the ground? Like, the story doesn't really make sense. Like, or not even be like, we can't even show this story altogether because Jordan spines it because the elk moves. I think that's doing us as a community a disservice and not telling the true story of what it is when we go out there. It is bloody. It is muddy, and it is dirty at times. It's also beautiful and emotional. And so what's cool is how you've been able to capture a lot of that in this series, and not only in our Montana hunt, but in the other hunts, to be able to show that emotion and that like stress and strain of what it is to go hunting. It's not just a walk in the park most days.
Yeah. To Casey's point, like for me, what I took away from this hunt is people will see like the emotion. I'm not saying that to respect the animal or respect what we do, you have to cry. Not everybody does that. And that doesn't mean if you don't cry that you're not respecting the animal. You don't have reverence for the experience. But for me, it was a lot of emotion because of a lot of years of sucking at bow hunting and finally it coming true. But I think for me, when I took away from that experience was just like, the suffering of that animal is something that's really serious. And as I've taken many other animals after him, nothing's really changed for me. Maybe the waterworks aren't there and the tears aren't coming as much as it was for that first real intimate experience at 45 yards with that elk. But I think Casey said it best. It's not a pretty experience. Sometimes these animals have to be turned into pincushions in order to help them to alleviate their suffering and to end the suffering as soon as possible, because they're resilient animals. Mm-hmm. And so I learned a lot from this hunt. And I love what Casey said, because it was part of what I wanted to say too, is just the team aspect. I love hunting with friends, whether I'm hunting with my brother, I'm hunting with you, because when you got a good group of guys like we did, I think Casey just kind of expressed it better than I could, is just that team aspect of trying to figure it out together. And instead of just kind of throwing in the cards or saying like, this is just too difficult based on what we've been dealt. Yeah. It wasn't that at all. It was like rafts came out, plans were drawn up. Like we're sitting creating these battle plans. Yeah. Mittens are put on feet. Like it was such a cool experience, but I encourage everyone to just, remember why we do what we do here. I think this hunt was this 3-part series that you put out for open season was a really good example of just a bunch of good guys and friends getting together and hunting and figuring things out, being a team, and cheering on each other and being excited for our wins and also for our losses. And I thought that was just pretty cool for us to be able to do that. So that's kind of, I don't know. Yeah. Because you guys already had some really good takeaways, so I don't want to speak over top of those, but that was kind of mine. This was a fun hunt, and for everyone I love the comments, because everyone's just like, thank you, Grady. Like, this is getting me so excited for hunting. And
I want to thank everyone that's been following along with the series. It's going through the roof. We're getting so much interaction, so many good views, so many comments, and I just want to thank everybody that's listening and following along and watching the films. And we're giving away a ton of stuff.
You got some really good friends and partners
Please give it away because it's clutter in the office.
Yeah, I know it's stacked up here, but we've got every week on Instagram there's a post that goes out on Sunday. Like, tag, share, follow that as it goes on Facebook as well, and you're entered to win. Go on our YouTube channel and leave a comment below on each of the videos. We're going to randomly select a video each week and then randomly select a comment from that film. So if you leave a comment on each one, you're in the running. I really appreciate the comments too, because people aren't just saying,
I was waiting for just people to be like, nice
comment,
job. Yeah, like thumbs
comment.
up. Like, no, these are like really nice and meaningful comments.
Yeah,
like
I really appreciate the time that people are taking to really express how they feel about the film and that it mattered to them. And I thrive on that, and I love that. So I appreciate that. And so that's been awesome. So
yeah, you're also giving away a Hoyt bow.
Yes, I'm giving away a Hoyt bow to some lucky person who has subscribed to the newsletter. So we're getting ready to launch the Gritty newsletter, and that should be awesome through email. So go on to briancall.com and you can find the newsletter link. Just sign it up, and then we're just going to randomly select someone from that and give them a Hoyt bow. And then if you leave us a review on iTunes, if you're listening to the podcast, you're a podcast listener, go out on iTunes, leave us a review on iTunes, and you can win a Kafaru pack and a Garmin InReach.
To be honest, it's pretty amazing what you guys are doing with just you and Gritty Bro Man over there. Like, I remember Brian coming in my office. This was just like a week or so ago, and he walks in, and as many of you have found out or know from social or just listen to the podcast, we had the fortunate opportunity to now work more close with Brian in Mountain Ops headquarters. We got his studio here. We got the gym, all the great things that we love to do and as part of our culture. But he walked in my office and he goes, Jordan. I was like, yeah. He's like, trying to get ready for this open season. I'm like, how's it going? You're like, I thought I was just going to do podcasts, man. Like this, I'm like running a business. I was like, yeah. And Casey's like, yeah, welcome to owning a business, dude. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot going on, but you guys are both, you and Brent are doing an awesome job. And I think what you're seeing is Gritty has been really quiet. You've been transitioning, doing all these things, getting your family in order and moved and all that stuff. And people are seeing the new direction, and I'm just watching it unfold, obviously right here in the office, but on what we're talking about, it's really cool to see how people are appreciating the content you're putting out and the messages that you're sharing. And I think that's really important because we need more. We need good content. We need good advocates for the public lands and waters and wildlife. And you are not, it's fun to watch you take on the issues that I don't think a lot of people are. And so kudos to you, man. You're doing a good job.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Open season, baby. You're opening season on everybody, dude.
I think a lot of work goes into it. People realize how much work I put into like editing a video and some more than others, right? But it's a lot. And so it takes away from the time I can spend doing other things.
Yeah.
And so 5 weeks, I've actually got like 12 weeks of film. And we were sitting there, and I was telling Jordan, because I was going to launch it over a few months. And finally, Jordan's like, I'm like, I'm not done. But I told him, I just want to get it out. And then we were like, let's do 5 weeks, which makes total sense. There's a lot of content here, and then we'll do it again later. But people keep asking, I hope this isn't the end. I hope this isn't just a one-time thing with Gritty. It's not. We're going to continue to keep rolling this stuff
But you do have to go out and get more content. So you might be hiatus for a little bit, but that's only because you're going to be in the outdoors actually getting more content for open season. But the good news is you've got the Gritty Bro Man here who's going to take care of things.
Yes, I
do.
A
lot of credit to Brent in helping make all this happen for you. You two are becoming quite just like the brothership here that we've got and brotherhood that the Harbertson brothers have that have been very successful with our incredible company and team. I'm feeling that with just what Gritty is, and the two of you is pretty freaking cool. Because this dude, not only did he just go buy some cheat sheet for his keyboard, bro is on YouTube learning everything about Photoshop now, diving into Illustrator, like becoming a graphic designer, editing the podcast. He's in Adobe Premiere. Like, you're becoming quite a one-man band there, buddy. He's behind the cameras, obviously, but Brent is a rock star, and he's doing a good job. So I just wanted to plug that in there. So,
which has been great.
And Katie did an awesome job. I feel like we shouldn't.
Oh yeah, she's a mother of 5. Though,
yeah,
and a little bit busy.
And he's a mother of 1
and diapers.
Yeah.
So it got to be a point where Gritty's sister had to take a
leave of absence.
She's like, I just need my life back.
Yeah.
And Brent's full time, so we're able to do a lot more. So you'll see a lot more content. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And please keep following along. Give us those comments. And as always, stay gritty.
Conquer more.
Thank you for watching this gritty film. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I've got some good news for you. We're kicking off 5 weeks of gritty hunting films, and we're calling this thing the open season. Folks, I have some amazing partners, and they've all decided to chip in to give me some stuff to give to you. For the next 5 weeks, we got Mountain Ops, we got Leupold, we got Sitka, we got Yeti, we got Hoyt, we got Crispy, we got Black Eagle. But wait, we're not done yet. We're also going to give away some Kifaru and some Garmin gear as well. Folks, that's more than $20,000 in gear. I can't thank my partners enough. There are 5 ways to win every week. First, like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And then, stalk us on Facebook and Instagram, because that's what those apps are for. Next, go to briancall.com and sign up for our newsletter, and you will be entered to win a brand new Hoyt bow. And finally, I forgot what I was going to say. Listen to the Gritty Podcast and leave us a review on iTunes. At the end of the 5 weeks, we're going to give away a sweet Kifaru pack and a Garmin InReach to some lucky winner. For all the open season details, go to briancall.com/open season. And as always, stay gritty.